We had slaves from day one.
And how many asses do you have to kiss?
No more.
I don't consider the human species to be at risk.
The path to get there is destroying humanity in the process.
But we do have to rage against the machine, I think. If I have a real shitty idea, I would hope you guys would be like, hey,
dude,
buddy. What?
not your best idea.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Alpha Hour podcast, where a couple of betas try to pretend like we're alpha.
What do you guys think?
What do we think about?
I don't know where you're going with this. So we've had prior discussions about like how there's different, obviously, layers within our human being makeup segments, whatever you consider it, wealth, income, but the high up, let's say they sit above even the government. These
Globalists, the elite.
Yeah, the elite. They control a lot. They can manipulate a lot of things. They want to fund someone to become president or whatever. We've had those conversations. So these elite people, you kind of hate them. I think you've shared in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And think that they control way too much. And they all have their own agendas. And they've, some of them, the whole Georgia Guidestone thing, for instance, had that one like line about how whoever felt that 500 million people is like what the world population should be. So we've had random dialogues about this.
Yeah, no, and the dialogue was they want to get rid of 7.5 billion people.
Yeah. So we're not going to get into the Georgia Guidestones, but we've had other conversations just now about like cats, like down south they think you're a pussy if you own a cat, sort of thing. And then I'm like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like cats, there's a huge spectrum. Obviously, you have it with dogs too, but I think they're like tighter. But you got like the king of the jungle, like a fucking lion, and then you got these domesticated house cats that just like need us to survive. So
They don't need us.
Well, once they're domesticated, they do.
No, those things kill more birds than any other animal on Earth.
All
Anyway,
right. All right.
Just play along with it for,
Yeah.
for
All right,
Christ's
so
sake.
let's
I won't stand for
Yes,
stuff
Sean,
that ain't accurate.
I agree, yes.
I want to throw an analogy out here. Let's like remove human beings from like this planet. Let's just say like you got these tigers, real alphas, lions and tigers, like the elite cats, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna help my little guys out, the little furballs that we all like take on as house pets. And like they're helping them and whatnot. Mind you, there's no humans. now they're looking around like 100 years from now because they like protected these little cats and whatnot. There's like 40 billion of them, and everywhere they look, this lion used to have this nice prairie where he could hunt and everything. And now there's like 100 million of them, and everywhere he goes, there's these cats. They're eating all the birds, all the mice, and now his like food chain is diminishing. Now the antelope are down, everything, and he's like, what did I do? I gotta just remove a bunch of these freaking cats so I can get back to being the king of the jungle because they're depleting all the resources. Don't you think?
Wait, are you saying that we're the cats and the
Yes.
billionaires are like the lions?
Yeah,
and like,
I know.
I know. I want
It's not it's an analogy. It's not a very good one. And
Let's see where it goes.
well, the biggest problem is that you're like comparing something that's not equal. Like I have this crazy notion that like all human beings are created equal. Like it's like the whole Constitution thing.
Oh, so you don't believe cats are created equal?
Not tigers, not the same thing. Like a cat and a tiger are two different things. But like
Ah.
and like I don't. It's just the analogy itself is a little porous.
but I get it. I get it.
So
Yeah.
now like they're
No,
like,
it's a bad analogy, but I know what you're going for. And
Exactly.
Yeah, no. But they didn't. It's not like these global elite were the ones who like paved the way forward for the rest of humanity.
correct.
So it's not.
Now they're at another tier. It'd be like overnight if all of a sudden you were one of them. Or in this cat analogy, you were a little domesticated cat, and like, damn, like,
Well, like-
I hope they don't remove us or like whatever. It's just beliefs.
I don't.
It's not like they actually have control to do
I
it.
don't think that they don't believe what they say. I think that they do believe that they're like the caretakers of the earth, and they think that the way forward is to drastically reduce population, which is essentially what climate change, the goal is. The goal of that is to lower resources, lower food production. That's what are the things that they always target? Cows, meat, coal, all sorts of fossil fuels, which I do agree, like there's probably better ways to do things, but like that's not their goal. Like their goal is like, we're going to do this now, and like you guys are just going to suffer the consequences. I mean, look across Europe. All over Europe right now, they're shutting down power, making them turn their ACs up to 80. They're in Denver last week. They basically said like, they remotely shut people's thermostats off.
In Denver, Colorado.
You weren't allowed to touch your thermostat because the energy was getting tight. Look at California.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Right
Yeah, I heard
now,
California that they
from 4 to 9 p.m., they're begging people to stop using power. You go into your car, you go into your Tesla, it says right on the screen, do not charge between 4 to 9 p.m.
Quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, Fully Loaded Tobacco-Free Chew. Check out the description of this video or the show notes to get 20% off your next order.
They want to limit you in all areas, and that's the only way they know how to do it, is just to control every ounce of your life instead of telling you
Or couldn't it just be the power grid can't handle?
Yeah, but why can't it?
What they're
how many years have we had these discussions, and instead of adding more power, like more nuclear power, more safe energy, instead of that, their options are get rid of all gas cars, which you have to then buy nothing but electric, with a grid that already cannot handle said electric, and they don't want to build any new plants. They want to do a bunch of solar panels, and it's like, this is all fine, except like you're putting the cart before the horse. You better have all these things in place before you start starving and making people have no power to live their lives.
But okay, we know in reality that can't happen.
What
right?
can't happen?
Well, that they're going to remove all gas-created cars or gas-guzzling cars.
They just passed a bill to do it by 2030.
But is it actually going to happen?
I don't know,
because
but that's their goal.
Politicians, all they're trying to do is get reelected. So they're not thinking none of them or most of them probably aren't going to be around at that point in time when that should be going into effect. So I don't know if I believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
I do agree that most politicians do want to get reelected, and I think there's a new breed of politician that doesn't care about any of this because they're burning shit down in front of our eyes. If you really wanted to get reelected, and this isn't a Democrat.
This is exactly what
Republican
I
thing.
wanted, by the way.
Yeah. No, but this isn't a Democrat Republican thing. I'm saying if you wanted to be reelected, you would serve the people for whom you were elected, like, to serve. They're not doing that. They're serving their global overlords at the World Economic Forum by doing this horrific shit.
See, I don't think it's a big black network where there's just
I don't either. I think
4
it's really
people
obvious.
running the thing. I don't buy into that.
The World Economic Forum, the lady who was just elected to the UK, they literally what was that tweet that he sent us the other day? It was like, "Go get 'em, Agent 31," like about the new prime minister. And I'm just like, this is so effing insane, and it's in front of our freaking faces. They're not shy about it. They have these young global leaders, they call them, all among them Justin Trudeau, like a bunch of people in the United States. It creeps you out, but yeah, they're there, and they have an agenda. They've look up Agenda 2030. It's out there. They put it out. They're not afraid of it. They believe in it. That's the thing. They believe in it. I just think that their belief, while I understand like why you'd want to reduce emissions and reduce these things, aren't not noble things, but the path to get there is destroying humanity in the process.
But is that their goal? Is, hey, we
I don't
got to
think
do
that-
this to destroy
No,
humanity?
I don't think it's their goal, but I think that's what's going to happen.
It could be an unintended consequence.
I don't
of
think they give
what
a
they're-
fuck about the consequences.
So then what is their goal? Because I get that you're saying that, oh, they're trying to control the world and do this
I don't
certain
think
thing.
he knows, but
what
it's
is
a great
their-
conversation.
I know, but what is their goal?
Control.
Like, if you so it's a
Control.
straight up control thing.
Control. They don't view you as equal. They want to control every facet of your life. Look at the world in the last 2 years.
This has been the entire human existence, though.
Yes. And America was finally like the one thing that broke out of the freaking matrix and was like,
Not
no
really.
more.
We had slaves from day one.
Yeah, I know. But we also had people that were free. We had that.
Yeah.
That was like the first time.
But we also, that's what I mean.
I'm not
even
saying
then-
we're perfect.
Even
We have our
then,
own problems.
Free country was not free. We had slaves, and then even then there was layers. I mean, whether or not they were coming over from Britain or Ireland or wherever in Europe, there was even then like leaders and then folks that got stuff that others didn't or had dibs on things first that didn't. There's always been that, and there always will be. Whether or not you go to before Christ years, whatever, and you're going like back in Mediterranean, like wherever, pick a part of the world, there's always going to be different classes where people are, I mean, like United Kingdom, I mean, do they still like actually like have their monarchy and whatnot?
Yeah.
Like that's still like where they're like the powerful family. But nevertheless, my point is like we say free all the time, but it's never been that, or everyone's the same, or all humans are created equal. there's never a point in history, in my opinion, that has been the case, and it's certainly not that way today.
Don't you think it's getting dramatically better, or has been up until like 5 years ago? I feel like you basically saw, especially in America, like a continuation of increased rights, increased availability for. I mean, we live in like a time where if Elvis lived today, he'd be like, holy shit, like this place is awesome. Like, look at that TV, look at that car. Like, we've gotten capitalism and the American values have brought our standard of living up to a point where it was nuts. And I'm telling you, their idea is not to let that continue to increase. Their idea is to bring it down.
So,
the average poor person today in America lives like a king 100 years ago.
Overweight poor people.
They
right?
live like a fucking king. They can eat whatever they want.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want. They have
so what? You're saying
access
you like
to
that
anything.
or you don't like that? I'm getting confused.
I'm saying
If these billionaires
they
have
had
so
the
much
freedom to do so.
Okay.
I like having nothing but freedom for people. It's not always going to go well. You're going to have people that end up in a virtual reality world permanently.
Yeah.
But that is their
or just
choice.
homeless on the streets.
That
or
is
whatever
their
it might be.
choice. I'm not
No matter
like,
what, like as our population increases, you're gonna have more of all of that. You're gonna have more homeless people on the streets. You're gonna have more people living in virtual reality worlds. You're gonna have more people addicted to drugs. You're gonna have more people successful that are capitalists and doing well.
But
and
you're also
creating
going
their
to
own
have
business.
exactly. That my point is
But it's
you're
just
going to have
gonna keep-
people
so-
that buy into doing things with more freedom, less control from our governmental structures.
All I'm saying is those guys are the tigers and the lions in my analogy, and they're just seeing like. It went from like, oh yeah, it was cute. We were helping out these little domesticated cats, and now it's like they're overtaking. They're everywhere. They're just killing all of our resources. I think that was my analogy and point. So, like, I had to look it up because I'm just thinking, like, again, I was used like with the year we were born. So, just 100 years ago, the entire world population was at 1.9 billion. So now we're at like 7.9. So it's almost like 4 or 5 times where that's the trajectory. So when do you think is an appropriate time if we constantly need to keep that path going where it's like, okay, we were just at 2 billion people, we'll call it. Now we're at 8. So if you keep that going another 100 years, whatever it's going to be, 20 billion people. And then in whatever, another 100 years, you're talking 40 billion people, 100 billion people. It's like at some point it's got to stop or we just completely deplete this earth.
Yeah, well, you're going to go interplanetary, but
But when you say the population is on a decline or they're trying to
it is on a
depopulate your-
decline in a lot of places. So right now, if you looked at
That's
world
fine.
population, like United States is not going up; it's going down. If you looked at India, it's going up dramatically. So a lot.
But what
China.
do you consider? Because I don't even think that's accurate. By the way, this is when we need a stat person to actually look at because
No,
people
we're
are
like-
living longer. They might not be reproducing. Like the average 25-year-old is not reproducing like they were 100 years ago. That's for
Right.
sure. And the average human, like if you're looking at a couple, aren't having 3 or 4 kids, whichever. If they were, it would be getting real wild. So what do you think is the appropriate number? Like it's not like the human existence, at least in my opinion, is at risk. Like they're.
I just don't think it can decline.
Well, let's just say we go back 100 years. It's like, hey, we're going to get back. 1920 was perfect. 1.9 billion people. You would think that's like the end of human existence. Like, if it was like.
No, because you didn't have 7.9 right before that needed to have.
It would just take
Services
something
and-
catastrophic for us to, like, actually. I don't consider the human species to be at risk. That's for damn sure.
No, not right now.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you
there's
could
more than ever.
There could be an asteroid.
There's
hits us
more people
tomorrow.
on this planet right now than there was last year. I'm pretty darn sure of that. It might have that. The incremental percentage
I don't
increase
know.
is definitely shrinking. It's like anything as you grow and grow and grow. So
In
it's
America-
tough to keep that same
In
percentage.
America, no.
No, I'm pretty sure we have.
No.
But either way, it's the point is projecting it into the future, right? Because okay, this year it might be okay. Next year, the next 5-10 years might actually be okay. But it's that okay. What happens at year 11, 20, 30, right? That's where we really have to be thinking about that now and doing something about it now to prevent that population decline.
And Musk has like he's been like the most vocal proponent of it. It's just one of those things where it's like,
You're a Muscite.
well, I am, but
Some people
I was way
hate
on it
that.
beforehand. I
I
just
don't
think
follow
that
it enough because what is like in that view? Because I see something just constantly going up, and it's like, wow, there's more.
I
of
don't
us than
think his-
ever.
I-
and now there's more of us, so it takes less of us to reproduce to just keep going up and up and up and up. It's like, all right, we're seeing like there's global effects and impacts like from us just being as big as we are in the last 100 years, like quadrupling our population. Maybe we weren't ready for it. And that's why I think we're having these tough conversations, like some of these big dogs that you're talking about. It's like, we got to do something. Because if we keep this rate up and we go from 8 billion to 16 billion and 16 billion to 40
They
billion.
are doing something.
Well, that's what I mean. And it's like, they're trying to get ahead of it. Like, it's like,
Oh, no, they're doing something.
well, please.
That's what I mean, between the BPA, the phthalates, the incessant, constant feminizing
I love
of
how I'm
men.
acting like I'm one of these lines that are really controlling. Like, yeah, we should cut the population. I'm just like, I think it's a valid concern because this is unprecedented times. Like,
Yeah, I know, but
in our 20,000 years of humans existing, I mean, there's by far more of us on this planet than ever, and way more than just a measly 100 years ago. So it's like, this is unprecedented. Like, we haven't.
it's always
consumed
unprecedented. It
as
was
much as we have.
unprecedented 100 years ago.
Yeah. So in
But
your mind,
100 years ago, would you have, if you could look into the future 100 years and you looked at society today, you wouldn't be like there's people 100 years ago that thought that when they built those Georgia Guidestones about the 500 million thing, population was 3 billion less than it is today. Is the world on fire? I mean, they keep telling you it is, but like, I don't know. Every time I
Well,
go
that's what I
do
mean. That was
anything,
the
I'm like,
belief.
I don't know. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of green. There's a lot of like, it's a beautiful world we live in. I feel like they get ahead of themselves, and I'm a scientific guy. I understand there could be like this variation in temperature where you could see like a degree Celsius change, and like, what does that mean? Like, every time they say it, they're like, oh, it's rising sea level, it's this and that, and then they all go buy goddamn houses at the shore, and I'm like, I don't know if I believe you.
Oh, you're talking about global warming now.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what this is.
Yeah.
Global warming is a depopulation.
We need to
campaign.
focus on it. I think burning fossil fuels is obviously bad for our environment. and
Exactly,
whatnot,
but
if
you
go
should
back
stop it.
10,000
I've driven
years,
electric cars and hybrids my adult life.
without any human impact. The glaciers came and gone and came and gone. And yeah, there's going to be natural environmental things, whether or not we're the direct result. I think some of
We
it
are. We're absolutely contributing to it. The question is, what does that mean? Like, let's just say we contribute a ton and it goes up 2 degrees. Like,
That means when you have so much money, you don't care about that one house you buy on the beach because it can go underwater and you'll just buy another one. Like, no, but I'm always intrigued when you like freak out about the population. It's like, what
I'm not
do you-
freaked about it. I'm freaked about trying to control it to a point where it's insanity. It's controlling itself. Once you reach a threshold where, look at United States. The United States is a good example. So it's at like 1.9, which is basically replacement level. 2 is replacement level, right?
Yeah.
So if you get to replacement level, you're essentially going to be a flat line, which
It's great.
I would be like, okay, yeah, but we're not the problem. It's just like climate change. We're not the fucking problem. It's all the third world countries. It's the same thing. They have a ton of kids, and why is that? Because the infant death rate's super high. So the minute we get them a little bit up to speed and actually increase their energy intake and increase their food and increase all this stuff where they can have 2 kids and they have a really good feeling those kids are going to survive into adulthood, they'll probably quit having freaking 7 kids. It's the natural progression of any society. We were there 100 years ago. They're there now. So I don't think we should cut off their resources and make their lives harder and do all that kind of stuff. We shouldn't. We should treat them decently.
Yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong in my opinion here. It's just I like to push the envelope with you because it's freaking awesome. But no, the same thing with like just like food and whatnot. I think obviously we get more efficient and whatnot. It's a lot of it. I don't know if we'll get to the point where we're like literally like taking what we need for our dietary and nutrition like in a pill form, but just like you said, we'll control like cows didn't exist like they did like now like 100 200 years ago. Same thing with chickens and whatnot. But it's like, geez, just think of the world, like we're gonna need that many more cows and that many more chickens, and like at some point we got to get more efficient. I'm just like, do we actually?
We're very
Our
inefficient with it right now.
population has like again, it's like unprecedented, but it's like we weren't ready for some of this shit. Like when you go from 2 billion to 8 billion in a matter of 100 years, there's a lot of catching up to do and figuring shit out, and I think that's what we're actually dealing with right now.
We do it in a weird way. We try and like feed everybody and do everything in this super mass economical way that, and then you end up transporting beef from, Argentina to the United States to eat. Like, I don't know if that's the best way to do it.
That's wild to think about.
But that's what they do.
I didn't realize it was
Oh
coming
yeah,
from
no, go look
Argentina.
go get ground beef from like Aldi.
Oh yeah, I don't go to the grocery
No,
store.
but I
that's
mean-
probably why I don't notice it.
It blows your mind. You're like, wait, this came from Brazil, Argentina, and Australia? You're like, what?
I have seen bison that comes from Australia, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
It just can't be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And I get why they do it, because they have the surplus there and they ship it here. And the way to do it would be like, hey, like this community takes care of this community. Like we figure it out. Like the state of Ohio, we divide it up and we're like, hey man, like we're going to get food growing areas here, here, here. We have farms here. Like we could do this. And you would have just a dramatically less way of like, there wouldn't be waste. There wouldn't be, you could do it with using the manure over.
But that goes back to your concern, which is control.
Yeah.
Right? That's if they're like, okay, we can export stuff out of Ohio and import so much, but there's a certain limit on it. At that point, that's some control,
you're controlling,
right? They're limiting what can it go on.
I wouldn't leave it to the dipshits who
In the
run
government.
anything. I think those people are fools. I would not leave it to them. I would leave it to the people. Like, let us come up with ideas. There are ways to fix these problems, and they could get way better, but I don't know. Kind of a convoluted subject, but nonetheless.
No, it could go on forever. But you leave it to the people. We elect all of our officials. They work for us.
They quit doing that a while ago. They started working to make themselves rich, and that's the only thing they do now.
What
And that's
blows my
not
mind
a party
You
thing.
don't think that we have a say?
No. Almost none. I don't
You
think
don't
they care.
that our elected officials work for us?
No. Not at all.
I mean, they do to an extent, maybe 30%.
That's
They
probably a
do
fair
to-
number.
Right, to an extent. They
So
do,
the vast majority of their day is spent doing shit we wouldn't want them to do.
pretty much. Yeah.
That's what it is.
They do very little. Very little.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it.
And how many asses do you have to kiss as a politician?
It's awful.
So many.
It's awful. I don't
It's
even know
so
how you fix it.
gross.
I know.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine doing that as a career. It's disgusting.
It's awful.
You have to do some. Yeah, you got to do some nasty stuff.
Yeah. I don't know what you'd do to really
Because you need
adjust
money.
it.
That's the problem. You need money to be
Oh, yeah.
reelected. So
Well, they
you,
sit on
you
these call
have to
centers
kiss
all day.
so many asses.
Yeah.
They're rhetorical questions, obviously, but yeah. Once you do a favor for somebody, then you owe them, and then you're in their pocket, and then now they got you by the balls, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's very corrupt.
That's why I most of the time I do agree with them, but I like getting it going too. But with the whole billionaire thing, they do control everything. What they say goes. I mean,
They control the politicians that are
yeah,
controlling
the politicians work for them. and
policies.
then They have the money and the resources. Yeah, it is.
You just hope there's some decent ones out there to counteract with the
There's not enough.
real shitty ones.
Yeah, there's not enough. That's the
right?
problem. I think it's like 8 to 2 in every 10.
And that's the
you're
thing.
screwed.
Even among billionaires, they all don't like each other too.
No.
So that's why I don't know. That's why I say I don't know if I believe that it's some a handful of people that are controlling everything, because you can't even get them to agree on so many things that I imagine it as being a bunch of little pockets of rich, powerful people. And they are kind of fighting against some of the other rich, powerful pockets of people.
I
if
think that
makes
they're
sense.
not fighting against that. They're fighting against losing their money or their influence. And I think that they understand that the best way that they can maintain their money and their influence is to have complete control of the population. I don't, and I think that if they all banded together and did it together, they're going to have a better chance of maintaining their power
I don't know
and
if we
influence.
I don't know if you could get all of them in a room. And
You may
agree-
not.
and agree,
Elon
though.
Musk clearly isn't on board with all their shit.
Yeah, a lot of them don't.
How
like
many
him.
times has he been contradictory to that with buying of Twitter and then
Mm-hmm.
the meltdown in that, and then buying, him talking about like population, him talking about how the guy makes freaking electric cars, and he's like, hey, we can't turn off coal plants yet. Like, we don't have any power.
Yeah, it's like, hey, yeah, those electric cars. That's
like-
what people don't get. Oh my, that is a whole nother thing. Is the coal plants, and
That's how
it's
you're
like-
powering your electric car a lot of
Yeah.
times. Like, I have an electric car. It's powered by coal. Ohio has a large amount of it that is powered by coal.
Everybody is
I
so.
meant to ask that. What do you pay per month for your did you do before and after?
Yeah, it's cheaper than gas.
How much a month? I was actually curious.
Only $105. But
Probably like half.
yeah,
You don't drive that much.
it's currently cheaper, but they can switch that around any time they want.
But back to the people. I think most of them are obsessed with not giving up what they have. I don't know if it's like controlling the population per se, but it is like their resources, their money, their revenue streams, like their influence on certain decisions that they care about, like especially with coal and oil and that they don't want to lose those revenue streams if we went a different direction. I think that's what those people are obsessed with. It's not necessarily like controlling whether or not you're having 2.2 kids on average or 1.7. It's more
That's
just
where you're wrong.
the more people, the more they need resources and energy. So depending on what field you're in, they're going to want more people because they just get richer and richer. and
Everyone
richer
is
if they have
just
a
thinking
monopoly
about
on it.
Everyone's
But-
just thinking about themselves, and it's
Correct.
the same idea with the billionaires, right? I mean, even if you look at a group picture that you know you're in that group picture, the first thing you're going to look for is yourself.
Yeah.
Where am I in that picture?
Yep.
So I think what it boils down to, everyone is pretty much it's self-interest, and that's kind of how it goes, and they're going to try to project their thoughts and views of how the world should be. And us as little
that's natural,
peons
right?
think that they're trying to control stuff, which they are, and
yeah,
you probably
that's my
would
thing.
too if
That's
you
natural.
if you were in there. But we do have to rage against the machine. I think
Yeah.
that's
Push
very
back
important.
against these idiots.
100%, especially government, is you have to question anything and everything they're doing, right?
Yes.
Because we as individuals give them power for what they do. So if they ever question why we kind of check them,
No, you have to be vocal.
then that's a problem. If they're
Yeah.
if they're making a big stink of, why are you checking us? We're the government. No, we should be
Yeah, what do you
checking.
mean? Like, we said you're not allowed to go to the beach, asshole.
Yeah,
It's like, wait, what does that have to do with anything?
yeah.
Shut up and do it. Like, that doesn't make any sense, sir. That makes no sense. Shut up.
And
Like,
that's a great thing to do too. You want people to push back.
Yeah.
If I have a real shitty idea, I would hope you guys would be like, hey,
dude,
buddy, what,
not your best idea.
Yeah.
you better stop wasting your time on that one because that ain't the best.
Yeah, yes, that's what you want. You want productive conversations like that. But
Yeah,
when
if you
people-
came with a company that was going to be nonsensical, at least I might mention it. Like, hey, man, this isn't the best idea.
yeah, you always
And
have
you
to-
may
always have to
disagree,
push back.
but at least you'd know. And that's what I think these people need to hear more of. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're in their little echo chambers and they just hear each other talking.
And
all the
even
time.
if it's a side that you agree on, like maybe some people are Republicans or Democrats, it's even your side. You need to check anybody and everybody.
Oh, yeah.
This hive mind thinking, it's horrible.
There's so many bad ideas on both sides.
yeah.
You hear it all the time. And you're like, wait a minute. That's the dumbest goddamn thing I've ever heard.
So dumb.
You started off with my analogy about tigers and domesticated cats, and then look
Hell of an analogy.